Hi, I'm Bill Patrick. The program you're about to see is part of a vintage series called Car and Track, which was originally produced during the first half of the 1970s. Before we begin the show, though, a brief program note. Using as many as 8 cameras to shoot a single event, Car and Track captured some of the great NASCAR competitions of the era, one race at a time. Over the course of some 80 episodes through 6 seasons, series producer and host Bud Lindeman lovingly documented a unique era in American motor racing. While the race action contained in the series remains timeless, the program itself has not dated quite so gracefully. Although the years have not been overly kind to Bud's decidedly low-key introductions and interviews, we believe them to be an integral part of this one-of-a-kind series. So please, stay with us now as Speed Vision presents a rare slice of 1970s Americana, Car and Track.
Hi there. This next half hour is loaded with something for everyone, including a special profile of a champion. Our Car and Track cameras follow Danny Ungaius to the AHRA National Championships. Also, a checkup on Detroit's impact on the imports. It's a little early to tell, but it looks like they just might turn the overseas tide. Our road test of the week is the Capri 1600, considered by some to be the first sensibly sized car to come out of the Motor City. There are some good points and bad. You'll see them both. As far as wheel-to-wheel combat is concerned, our lenses looked out over a virgin racetrack at Ontario, California, and a meeting of USAC's finest. We'll be back for a study of the success combination of Mickey Thompson and Danny Ungaius in 1 minute.
And if you watch some of these people, Danny Ungaius in particular runs a car, and it looks as though the car is out of control for 1,320 feet. But he runs that thing faster than anybody else has been able to run a funny car this year.
The American Hot Rod Association Spring Nationals at Bristol, Tennessee brings together 51,000 fans for whom the greatest sight in the world is a blown funny car or AA fueler going through the lights with everything wound out tight. During 1969, the quickest funny car in the business is driven by Danny Ungaius. His Mustang is built and maintained by the legendary Mickey Thompson. The heart of this torpedo is a Ford 427 cubic inch single overhead cam V8. Supercharged and burning nitromethane fuel, the engine develops 1,500 horsepower. Ungaius' funny car record is 6.96 seconds and 207 miles an hour for the quarter mile.
It's been an unreal season for us. We've won over 90% of the races that we participated in and won out of the 12 national events that we were very interested in. We've won 11 of the 12 so far. Well, I think it takes three main things. It takes a very good piece of equipment. When I say equipment, that's the chassis, engine, mechanical features. It takes an excellent mechanic, and it takes a good driver. when you spin the tires, it lays rubber in the ground. We usually try and back right over the same marks. And the combination of the traction compound and a rubber laying on the ground will usually drop you about 0.15 of a second if you can stay right on the same marks.
By late afternoon, drag racing's process of elimination has weeded out all but Ongais and Leonard Hughes. 1/100th of a second separates their best times. Now they will face each other for the funny car title.
You figure that the normal reaction time for a person is about 1/1500th of a second. It takes about another 1/10 of a second to get the tires all wound up and the drive shaft all wound up and everything. So you're working with 2500ths of a second. And if you can split the difference between a light going on and off, it takes a half a second for the light to go on and off, and it takes you 2500ths of a second to get moving. It's all something that's laid out before you, and you leave when the light's halfway off. I don't think there's anything magic, but it's really anticipation. Time comes to leave. You leave.
When the time came for Danny Ongais to leave, he left. And he left in time to take the AHRA Spring Nationals funny car title with him.
I made a prediction one time that a drag racing car would run 150 miles an hour in a quarter of a mile. Some of the famous magazine writers at that time poked fun at me. And I actually believe that we will see someday a 5-second quarter of a mile run in over 300 miles an hour.
The onslaught started several years ago when our coastlines were bombarded with small foreign bugs. For the most part, they were ignored at the outset, considered to be a cheap, uncomfortable little car with a power furnished by something similar to a small rubber band. Obviously, Detroit paid little attention to these pesky critters. They really didn't have the time. You see, they were in the middle of a horsepower race, building thunderous engines to drop into increasingly bigger and heavier cars. And suddenly, it happened. Our garages and parking lots and highways were flooded with these small foreign invaders. And then someone started to count. The automakers took a long, hard look when the import sales charts continued their strong upward climb. And American Motors fired the first gun. We talked with Roy Chapin in Palm Springs, California, during the introduction of the Gremlin.
We felt that there was a very real place in the American market, the U.S. market, for a car that was smaller than any presently being built by any U.S. manufacturer, that had the economies of both price and gasoline mileage that goes with size in many cases. But more than that, a car that really would provide a personalized form of transportation that filled a need that many people had, where there really was no particular point in their lives for a great big family sedan. And we think that this car is one that will not only do that, but also, obviously, we think it's going to be a very effective entry in competition with the imports, which have done a very good job of capturing quite a large share of our total automobile market.
Right on the heels of the Gremlin, Ford countered with the Pinto, allegedly designed to do everything, but mainly to break the back of the import car market. We talked with John Naughton, General Manager of Ford Division, concerning the sales progress of the Pinto.
Well, we've been selling Pintos at the rate of about 1,000 cars a day since we introduced the car last September, and surveys have shown that 2 out of every 5 Pinto buyers thus far would have purchased a foreign car if there were no Pinto. And we're delighted with the way our lively little subcompact has taken off in the strong small car market.
At the time the Pinto was introduced, we heard rumors to the effect that there would be no changes for 5 years. Now recently, a new runabout model was introduced, and we wondered if this was the beginning of several changes.
Well, we were speaking of traditional model changes, and that we haven't done. What we have done is create a 3-door version of the basic Pinto by adding a large door in the rear of the car that lifts up. The interior of the runabout is the same in appearance and size as the regular Pinto, except that a fold-down rear seat comes as standard equipment. With the seat up, the car seat's 4, and with the seat down, there's plenty of room for the housewife to put her groceries or for the weekend vacation or to store extra luggage. No, we haven't changed the Pinto, but we have given it the utility of a wagon, yet retained the subcompact's convenience and economy.
The third big gun to be trained on foreign shores was manned by the Chevrolet division of General Motors. The ammunition was the Vega. At the Chicago Auto Show, I met with John DeLorean, General Manager of Chevrolet. He stated that almost 1/3 of Vega buyers would have purchased a foreign car had they not bought a Vega. Now, many American families would rather have an American-built car. He said that Vega is the first new car purchase for more than 1/3 of its buyers, indicating that the car is helping to expand the overall size of the new car market. We'll be watching the progress of the mini cars closely here on Car and Track, and in the weeks to come, you'll see road tests on all of them, domestic and foreign, designed to keep you up to date on this newest automotive trend. You know, while women's fashions have taken a turn toward the midi, the automobile designers have been fashioning a mini. In fact, our Car and Track mailbag has been stuffed with letters about these little cars. In the weeks to come, you'll see tests of all of them. And in the comparison showdowns, this little Capri will have to rate high on the ladder. You see, between the headlights and the taillights of this little car, they wrapped up a lot of performance. Here's a little car that just might give the rest of the minis fits. It does everything well, and handling goes to the top of the list. We put it through the pylons first because it felt so strong driving it out to the track. At 50 miles an hour through the cones, body lean was hardly perceptible. Rebound and recovery, excellent. Our Capri weighed a little over 2,100 pounds, had a 17-to-1 steering ratio with a turning radius of 34 feet. The Capri is built in Europe and brought over here by Lincoln Mercury and is slightly different than those marketed overseas. In our car, the engine is manufactured in England, then shipped to Germany, where it's installed in a German-built chassis. This is probably because Ford wants both companies in on the action. The car comes with a very limited list of options. Ours had the trim package. It gave the interior a very luxurious look. This whole unit was motivated by this 1600cc engine, which for our money was a little too docile, delivering only 71 horsepower at no time will your hat leave your head. In the go for broke runs, it took us 4.5 seconds to go from 0 to 30. The only transmission available is a 4-speed manual shifter. The throw was short and precise. It clicked into each position with little or no effort. We had 50 miles an hour in 11 seconds flat. On our way to 70 miles an hour, we wound the little Mein Kampf to about 5,500 RPMs in each gear, which we decided was the best shift point. It took 24.8 seconds. Our ET in the quarter was 20.1. The European Fomoco plant is doing a sensational job with brakes. In fact, these are some of the best stoppers we've worked with in quite a while. From 30, it took 39 feet. We had our test car on the braking course for an hour. Pedal fade was hardly noticeable. All of the stops were as straight as this one. From 45, it took 66 feet. In all of the 70-mile-an-hour panic stops, the Capri pulled a full 1G and decelerated at nearly 33 feet a second. This stop ate up 263 feet. The car had a strong, secure feeling in the turns. Steering felt extremely light, although in highway driving, we found that the car had a tendency to wander. And with gusty crosswinds, you want to stay alert. This little Mini will lane hop faster than a rabbit. This is a unit steel construction chassis and rubber mounts at all the crucial points insulate it well from the drivetrain. The suspension is stiff. However, when we took the tester across open fields, we found that a great deal of the shock was absorbed before it ever got to the passenger compartment. We had the big 185 by 13 radial tires on our Capri, and they gave exceptional cornering power. The front suspension featured McPherson struts, coil springs, tubular shocks, and an anti-sway bar. In the rear, they had a live axle on leaf springs, along with radius rods yet. The shocks were staggered, one in front and one behind the axle. In hard cornering, body lean is very slight. The car goes into the turn well and comes out smooth. Our overall rating of the Capri, terrific. We predict busy days for Lincoln Mercury dealers when this little Mini goes to market.
Well, there it is. That's our test of the Capri. We'll be right back after this message.
Covering the California 500 was a must for our crew. The Indianapolis Championship cars, piloted by some of the finest drivers in the world, were here to breathe life into this new $25 million baby in Ontario. While money is important, it's not the only ingredient necessary to a successful racetrack. It takes a great deal of know-how, plus years of planning and preparation. This was the first big test. The owners of the track and the cars, as well as the drivers, were all waiting with bated breath to find out just what this new baby had to offer. The tension was about to be cut by the slash of a green flag.
It cost $25.5 million to turn a vineyard into a racetrack, and it was worth it. On Sunday, September 6, 1970, during the Labor Day weekend, the newest, most modern raceway in the world, the Ontario Motor Speedway, opened with the inaugural running of the California 500. California racing fans were eager for the thrills of Indianapolis-style competition. By 10 o'clock, a full hour before race time, the grandstands were full. A paid attendance of 180,223 spectators anxiously awaited the start of their first California 500. Ontario was patterned after Indianapolis with an identical 2.5-mile track, but there are differences. Lloyd Ruby, who has driven more miles at Indianapolis than any other current driver, compared the tracks prior to his qualifying run.
It is quite a bit different than the Speedway, although you have 4 turns, the same straightaway, but here you have a little bit more bank coming off the turns and through the short chutes, and it does hold the car a lot better, and that's the reason it speeds up quite a bit more than what it did at the Speedway.
It was supposed to have been the same measurements and everything as Indianapolis, and of course the distance is the same, but the banking in the turns is a little bit higher, and the pavement's a little different, and we get a little stickier conditions, so you can run faster. That's why you saw some pretty fast speeds this morning. When Lloyd Ruby qualified at 177, of course, nobody's ever run that speed at Indy.
Lloyd Ruby won the coveted pole position with a qualifying run of 177.567 miles per hour. Joe Leonard's 3-year-old qualifying record at Indianapolis is 171.559 miles per hour. Lloyd Ruby and Art Pollard called it right on. Ontario is fastest. Here they come. The pace car pulls off, and 33 of the fastest qualifying cars look for that green flag to start the inaugural California 500. And there it is. Lloyd Ruby takes the lead, with Al Unser challenging Dan Gurney for the number 2 spot. Unser takes it on the back straight, and into turn 3, it's Ruby, Unser, and Gurney. Though designed and built with safety in mind, the Ontario Motor Speedway does have some peculiarities of its own. Roger McCluskey talked about turn 3 before the race.
It is a little unusual from what we've run on in the past, and the reason for it is the rear straightaway is elevated 25 feet higher than the front straightaway, so the fans can all see the complete racetrack. What you run into as you go into 3, you drop down slightly. In other words, the turn, instead of being up flat, just kind of banks off and drops just a little bit. So when you go in, the turn is kind of go over a little hump and then down in the turn, and it's just something that we're going to have to get used to.
Veteran Jim Hurtubise never completes his first lap as turn 3 claims its first victim. Al Unser grabs the lead from Ruby, who might be having engine trouble. On the 42nd lap, a broken camshaft forces top qualifier Lloyd Ruby out of the California 500. He is the 10th driver to be eliminated because of mechanical trouble. Unser, the leader, makes his first pit stop on the 47th lap. For the next few seconds, the race takes place in the pits. Dan Gurney, running second, now has an opportunity to take the lead. Streaking down the main straight, Gurney passes Unser, still in the pits, to take the lead. A disappointed A.J. Foyt, plagued since the start of the race, makes his 4th pit stop of the day. He has thus far spent a total of 35 minutes in the pits. Turn 3 takes its second victim out of the race on the 98th lap as Dan Gurney crashes the wall. The uninjured Gurney climbs out of his car and out of the race. This year's Indy 500 winner, Al Unser, driving the Johnny Lightning Special, is now in the lead. On the 169th lap, turn 3 chalks up its third and final victim of the day as Joe Leonard blows a tire and spins off into the infield. The strain of running at top speed for over 3 hours takes its toll. While running in third place, Mario Andretti drops out with mechanical trouble. After leading the race for over 80 laps, Al Unser in car number 2 can't get his engine to fire up coming out of his final pit stop and has to pull off the track and out of the race with a blown turbocharger. The crowd looks for a new leader. Leroy Yarbrough of stock car fame takes the lead, driving car number 32 for the former world champion Jack Brabham. Luck runs out for Leroy after leading for 5 laps as his engine strains and blows the turbocharger. With Yarbrough out of the race, Art Pollard, number 64, takes the lead, with Jim McElreath in Foyt's backup car number 14 running second. A.J. Foyt crashes the wall with only 5 laps remaining in the race. If the race continues under the yellow caution light caused by Foyt's accident, the cars will be required to hold this position and Pollard will win. Foyt, in an attempt to aid McElreath, helps the emergency crew clear the track. And on the 196th lap, the green flag is out and McElreath passes Pollard on the straightaway. McElreath keeps the lead for the last 4 laps, but it's still a very close win. In a race that took 3 hours, 7 minutes, and 22 seconds, McElreath's winning margin is just 2 seconds. But it's enough to place him in the winner's circle and the Ontario record book. A very happy A.J. Foyt congratulates his teammate. Jim McElreath is the winner of the first California 500.